So this is Tokusan's second period. He's beating everybody. 30 blows if you say a word, 30 if you don't. And for those of you doing koans, this is a koan. You have to pass it. It's a very hard one. You come and you say that koan, and the teacher will say, okay, present that koan. And the first thing you'll do is go, ouch, ouch, ouch. And then that's wrong. And that goes on for quite a while until you see what this koan's about. Tokusan goes through that period for quite a while. If you can see it clearly, he's gone from being Mr. Intellectual Right to being Mr. Zen Teacher Right. It was, now he has the force of enlightenment behind him, and we could say, although it sounds a little perhaps disrespectful, that he's worse than he was before. Except now he actually has something to teach, so he's doing some good. Wow. But personally, he may be even more deeply into his rightness than he was in his intellectual phase. Okay. And then we find Tokusan again in his early 80s in this last koan, which is very famous, called Tokusan Carries His Balls. Tokusan is now, as he was in the previous time, the abbot of a monastery. He's been for quite a while. And he's got two young students. Some of you have heard this before, but if you're like me, I can hear this koan over and over. He's got two young students named Ganto and Seppo, who are buddies. They're maybe in their 30s. And Ganto is younger than Seppo, but much senior in his understanding of what's going on. A more developed student. And he's always trying to help their buddies. He's always trying to help Seppo out, but Seppo's a little dim, and in a particular way, which is he's another Mr. Right. He's very fixed in his point of view. He knows what's going on. Consequently, he can't learn anything. You can't find out what's going on if you already know what's going on. It's like, you know, it fits in the same box. You got to empty the box. So, Seppo is the tenzo, which is the cook in a monastery, and it's a very responsible position. And I'm hoping maybe this spring we'll do a retreat in the desert in a very nice place, and we'll have a tenzo. So, tenzo usually has assistants, and he is not just responsible for preparing meals. They're not just the cook, but the whole atmosphere of the kitchen, and it's sort of treated like a meditation and a lot of aspects to it. So one day, Tokusan is kind of coming down, hobbling down, as it's sort of put in the koan, to eat one of the meals. And in those days, 80 is old. I mean, 80 is old now, but 80 is old then. It's the 8th century or so. And, you know, there's no pills for your arthritis. I think 8th or 12th century. And Seppo sees him coming. This is the big guy. And he says, "What are you doing? I haven't rang the inkin yet." The inkin, it's not the inkin. Inkin's this. Anyway, it's whatever. It's a malleted thing that you bang when meals are on, and you do it in the same 3 things like you do the umpam. And actually it's an umpam, so it's not a malleted thing, it's a bell. But it's rung in the same way in triples. And this is quite an outrageous thing to say to the head of the monastery, that, what are you doing? But he's a wise guy, and he's actually kind of has said, "What are you doing, old man? I haven't rung the bell yet," you know, inferring on you getting senile. And Tokusan turns around and pads just back up to his room, doesn't say a word, and is gone. This is all like a little play. Then his buddy Ganto comes down, and Seppo says to Ganto, "Psst, guess what I just did?" Seppo is very excited. He says, the old man came down, and it wasn't time. I told him it wasn't time, and I sent him scurrying back to his room. Now, if you can imagine, this all sounds funny to us, but it's not so unlike life today. You're the under-secretary, under-senior, junior software developer at a company, and the chief architect comes in, and you want an argument with him. He says, this code isn't correct, I don't care what you say. And he says, okay. And then another guy comes in, your buddy says, you know what I told the senior architect? I told him, you know, same thing. So, but Ganto, who's always really interested in helping, Seppo says, that's great. You really got over on the old guy. And that's because he doesn't know the last word of Zen. And this is Ganto's brilliant ploy to make the whole rest of this play occur. And now Seppo saying, last word of Zen? What's the last word of Zen? You know, if I know the last word of Zen and the old guy doesn't know the last word of Zen, then I'm, you know. So he gets very excited. And meanwhile, and when you do this koan, you have to say what is the last word of Zen, that you'll be asked that. Meanwhile, Tokusan hears about what happened, and he asks Ganto to come into his private quarters. And he's pissed. Maybe, you know, what he calls him that. And now, there's something to be understood in this part of the story, too. Tokusan is not going to get angry at Seppo. It's just not worth it. Seppo doesn't understand enough about what he's doing for Tokusan's anger to do anything for him, or his disappointment. Ganto, on the other hand, is a senior person who is supposed to understand. So when he doesn't, Tokusan will take the time to point something out to him. So Ganto comes in and Tokusan says to me, I understand you don't approve of me. That's what he says. And at that point, Ganto comes over to him and whispers something in Tokusan's ear. Tokusan shakes his head, satisfied, and Ganto leaves. Now, again, when you do this koan, the next question will be, what did Ganto say? Now, how can you know that? Huh? Well, let's struggle. But you can.